Good afternoon, my name is Richard Wishart. Welcome to a garden in Cambridgeshire. I'm going to be talking about serialized identification. So just some definition of terms, some orientation. I work in the area of cloud of things, so this is just a basic introduction to some of the terminology. So if we start off with the very basic, which is non-serialized identification. So you might be able to recognize this. This is a can of beans, but interestingly, on the can of beans, there's a barcode and there's an identifier. But this is what we call a non-serialized identifier. So every can of beans in the world from this manufacturer has exactly the same serial number built into the barcode. So we talk about the identifier, which is mainly what I'm going to be talking about, and then there is the format, the way that the serial number or the identifier is embedded within the code of the barcode or the RFID tag or whatever. So we're talking about the identification code. So on a can of beans, the code is the same on every can of beans. And where they really use this is that obviously at the point of sale in a supermarket, you scan the can of beans, it goes to a lookup table and says this can of beans costs this amount of money. So it relates the can of beans to the amount of money. Now, where this falls down a bit is it's not serialized. So this can of bean is identified the same as every other can of beans. When we move into Postal Express logistics, things change a bit. So we then come into, this is a standard parcel barcode. So this is the label that's stuck on a parcel. It's actually a label that I invented about 15, 20 years ago. And it carries a serial number. This time it's a serialized number, so it's not a static number, and it's built into a two-dimensional barcode format. So this is a serialized identifier, not a non-serialized identifier. Every single parcel is uniquely identified, and every number is different. So now we're talking about the serialization scheme. And this serialized identifier can go inside a linear barcode, it can go inside a QR code, it can go inside a RFID tag, and you can have the same serialized identifier inside all three. Okay, so we've talked about non-serialized, we've talked about serialized, and then we talk about the third one, which is mass serialization. So mass serialization is a big area, not really that well understood. And people now say, well, how can I do now mass serialization? Mass serialization is very large numbers. So with this barcode, which as I said, I did about 20 years ago now, we had a million parcels uniquely identified every night. So that's a million. To be unique, they had to be unique over 6 months to a year. So probably about 200 million item identifiers on the database. That was 20 years ago, and things now are a lot bigger. So mass serialization is massive. What identifier would you use within a mass serialization? Within this was the scheme that I built and put together. But really now, to be working in mass serialization, you should be using a standard. And the very best standard to use, in fact I think it's probably the only standard to use, is what they call an ISO license plate number. So this is a number that is absolutely unique within the ISO system and with any issuing agencies within the ISO system. So you could absolutely guaranteed to have a unique identifier. When you have this open standard for a unique identifier, you also move into this other area, which is not a closed system, but an open system, so the identifier can be used anywhere, and this is where you can get into omni-channel e-commerce uses as well. So maybe that's a topic for another day, but essentially today I just wanted to sort of show you, first of all, non-serialized identifier, serialized identifiers, just introduce them, and then talk about mass serialization, but mass serialization is really for another day. Anyway, so this is Richard Wishart from a very sunny Cambridgeshire. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll speak to you on the next video. Thank you.